What's up, Gen Nation? My name is Ali, and this is Loyal Media Sports Podcast. We have a very special guest today on our show. He's a former offensive lineman, two-time Super Bowl champion, and current ESPN analyst, and a fan favorite player. Please welcome Damien Woody to the show. How are you, Damien?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Awesome.
Doing great. We appreciate you taking time to join Loyal Media Sports Podcast again. Thank you, Damien.
No problem.
Jumping right into it. So you spent your last 3 seasons in the NFL for the New York Jets. And just give us a brief explanation of how it was being a part of the New York Jets organization.
Well, listen, it was fantastic. First and foremost, I came back to the East Coast and joined the Jets organization because Eric Mangini at the time was the head coach, and I was with Eric Mangini with the New England Patriots, and it was just a great locker room. First and foremost, the locker room was great. We had a bunch of guys that were veteran type of guys who were used to winning, and we all knew when we came in 2008 that they had talent. The team had talent when myself and Alan Fanekas and Tony Richardson came aboard. They just needed more veteran presence. And, if it wasn't for Brett Favre getting hurt, I thought that 2008 season was going to go great. But overall, man, my 3 years was tremendous. We had back-to-back AFC championship games, and playing under Rex was fantastic. So I've always said if you're winning in New York, it's nothing like it in the world.
Exactly. And that offensive line was a big reason why you guys are so successful. So if you want to compare the offensive line when you were on the Jets to the offensive line now in 2020, obviously Joe Douglas revamped it. There's 5 new players on this offensive line playing together for the first time. So how do you expect them to get chemistry so fast in just 4 weeks of practice?
Well, listen, it's definitely going to be it's a tough situation, to be quite honest with you, because when I came in 2008, myself and Alan Fanekas came in free agency. They already had Nick Mango, DeBrickashaw Ferguson, and Brandon Moore. So, but the difference is we had an offseason. We had OTAs, we had mini camp. So we had weeks to work together in the offseason as opposed to these guys who are thrust together for the first time in training camp. So that's going to be a big obstacle. But the biggest thing that you can do to build that chemistry is reps. I'm pretty sure that Adam Gase and the coaching staff, they want to try to get as many reps in practice as possible, because that's really the only way that those guys are going to build their cohesion is by practicing and getting as many reps in as possible before week 1.
So, Woody, I wanted to ask, it's Joe Douglas' first full off-season calling the shots, from free agency to the draft and to the Jamal Adams saga. How do you think he's been handling all of this?
Well, I think Joe Douglas has handled it really well, considering the fact that he's totally rebuilt the offensive line, which we'll see how that turns out. In the draft, he goes out and gets Mekhi Becton, who's a, uber talented offensive tackle that should help Sam Darnold more than maybe any other position that you could probably bring in. And then you go out and get Denzel Mims, the rookie wide receiver out of Baylor, who should be another weapon when he gets back on the field. And if you just look at all the moves, he knows how to build a football team. He's building it through the middle out. If you look at all the successful teams, everything starts in the trenches. And Joe Douglas, who's a former offensive lineman, played offensive line collegiately at University of Richmond, he knows the value of starting in the trenches. And, kudos to him for doing that. And to be able to flip Jamal Adams, a very good player and an all-pro player that plays the safety position, and to get back the haul that he got, that's how you set your organization up for years to come.
Yeah, and that's a perfect follow-up to the question I had for you. So how do you think Joe Douglas is setting this team up for long-term success? Not really 2020 success, but talk about his long-term vision and how you think he's setting up this Jets team.
Well, I think a couple things. Number one, he has a lot of draft capital. I mean, if you look at how the really good teams know how to build the team through the draft, because that's how you keep your costs under control. And if you look at the Jets right now, they have, next year, 2 ones. I think there's like 5. They have 5 picks in like the top 100, something crazy like that. Then the following year they have 2 more number 1. So this is the team that's going to own the draft the next couple of years. and it's going to have the opportunity to really add a lot of talent to this organization. They're going to have a lot of salary cap room because, as you know, through free agency, a lot of these guys that they signed were just one-year deals. So Joe Douglas is going to have a lot of flexibility come this offseason to really shape this roster in the image that he wants.
And you already mentioned Mekhi Becton. I want to hear more your opinion on him. And what do you think he should focus on the most to be successful as a rookie? Because when you're thrown in there as a rookie left tackle, you know you're going to get beat. So what do you think Mekhi Becton should really hone in on, focusing on the most?
Well, listen, first of all, I mean, this is a mountain of a man. I mean, everyone has talked about that ad nauseum. He's a huge, huge human being. But the thing that's so crazy is how freakish of an athlete that he is. You don't see many human beings walking the earth that is 6'8", 370 pounds and can move the way that he moves. That is tremendous because I always say with offensive linemen, the thing that I want the most, I want guys that with really good feet, and he has that for his size. So that's really encouraging, and it seems like he's a smart guy. He's absorbing all the information. I would say the biggest thing for Mekhi Becton is just making sure he keeps his eye on his weight. Because this is a guy that, again, he's already a big human being. But the last thing you want is a guy like him to blow up to 400 pounds and not be able to move and do the things that he can do at a specific weight. So just watching his weight, making sure he's on top of his nutrition, and just getting as many reps as possible. Like you said, he's going to get beat. Playing offensive line as a rookie is one of the hardest positions you can come into the National Football League. But with more reps, he's going to get better as the season goes along, and that's ultimately what you want to see.
So let's talk about the quarterback. So what do you think of Sam Darnold, what he needs to do to improve this season to show he's a guy to lead this team? And do you think he's the future of this franchise?
Well, first of all, I do think he's the future of this franchise, but I think this is a big year for Sam Darnold. I think, what we've seen from him is, a couple things. Obviously, last year was kind of derailed in the early part of the season because of him contracting mono. He did finish the season off strong, going 6-2. But I think now in his third year, I think people want to see, okay, let's see you go get it to the next level. Joe Douglas and company have added some pieces around him, rebuilt the offensive line, added some, they get Chris Herndon back. Le'Veon is coming back in tremendous shape. Frank Gore, they've added pieces around him. So now you need to see him take the next step, as an organization. If you're a franchise quarterback like they believe you are, some of the stuff you got to be able to put a team on your shoulders and carry them somewhat. And I think the team still has some work to do as far as acquiring weapons on offense, but I think overall people are expecting a big year out of Sam Darnold and wants him to step up to show that, yes, he is the future for the New York Jets.
And do you believe Adam Gase is the right person to get the maximum potential out of Sam Darnold?
Well, listen, I think that remains to be seen. It's been a mixed bag with Adam Gase so far in his first couple seasons with the New York Jets. Obviously, last year with Sam Darnold again contracting, mono, that was a big hit as far as the offensive production is concerned, and just a lack of talent. But at the same time, this is the NFL stands for not for long. You can't sit here and every year be a rebuilding year. People want to know in New York, okay, you got your quarterback, you've added pieces, you rebuilt the offensive line. Let's see what this offense can do because he's an offensive-minded coach. There were questions, when he got hired. So, patience is running thin with the fan base. So I think this is a critical year for him.
So let's talk about the latest news regarding the Jets. It's about Yannick. I know you showed a lot on Twitter saying that you wanted Yannick. So there's a lot of rumors about the Jets inquiring about him. Do you think he would be a good fit for the Jets? And if so, what should the Jets give up to get him?
Yeah, I think he would be a good fit. I think they need more talent in the front seven. Do I think the Jets will get him? I don't know. I don't know if the Jets going to pull the trigger and really make that happen. But I mean, you're talking about a guy who's had over in the last 4 years, I think 37.5 sacks. That's a lot of production, more so than any other guy on this Jets defense. So I would love to see a guy like that because I think enhance Quentin Williams, who I think is going to have a big year this year, in his second year out of Alabama, and it'll just make the defense better. But you also got to remember, if you trade for a guy like this, he can't sign a long-term deal right now because we're past the franchise tag deadline. So you're basically going to be, he's on a loaner. He'll be a loaner for a year. So if you give up, say, a second-round pick and he decides to move on to free agency, that's a premium pick that just went down the drain. So, it's a dicey situation. I would love to see it, but ultimately Joe Douglas is going to have to make that call.
All right, so my final question was, what do the Jets need to do to end their 10-year playoff drought?
Well, listen, I think that the biggest thing is offensively. This is an offensive-driven league. And, again, it starts with Adam Gase and Sam Darnold. The quarterback is so much of the success of any football team, and Sam Darnold this year has to put it together for 16 games. I think the defense is going to be fine, even with, Mosley not opting out this year, and obviously Jamal Adams being traded to the Seattle Seahawks. I think the defense led by Greg Williams and company, they'll be fine. It's the offense that's going to have to take a major step forward. You can't be one of the worst offenses in the league and expect to, be hovering around 500 or contending for the playoffs. This team needs to make a major leap forward. It has to be at least middle of the pack to the upper tier part of as far as offensive statistics in the league. So they have their work cut out for them, but they have personnel to get it done if these guys gel together.
Awesome. So before we finish off this interview, I just want to ask you, because you're very vocal on Twitter about your fandom of the New York Islanders, and they've been killing it in the playoffs. So how did you become such a big Islanders fan?
Well, I think last year it started where, the whole New York sports team just sucked. And that's literally what I said on Twitter. I said, man, the New York sports team is just awful. It sucked. And then the Islanders tweeted out like, hey, over here, we're pretty good. And all the Islanders fans just started tweeting at me like, hey, D Wood, man, you got to go check out the Islanders, man, because they're killing it, unlike everyone else in this area. And so I just started having, they reached out to me. One thing led to another, and we turned it into a situation where we had a little charity thing, and we got the fans involved, and they invited me out to a game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then I was hooked. The whole organization was just fantastic. I met all the players on the roster, and just the pace of the game, the speed of the game was just fantastic. And, now I'm one of their biggest cheerleaders.
Yeah, I didn't know that story. That's an awesome story. I'm unfortunately a diehard Jets, Knicks, and Mets fan. So it's been a really rough three teams of these. Really rough.
Hopefully one of these teams will get it turned around soon.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate you hopping on the Loyal Media Sports Podcast, Damien Woody. And we really hope everything is going well with your family during this pandemic and everyone's staying healthy. And hopefully we can see you back in the booth in First Take, because I will always tune in watching you on there. I loved you on there. And, yeah, so that really does it for this. Any last words you want to say, Damien?
No, listen, I'm excited for football. I know this whole pandemic has been tough for a lot of people, but I think the NFL and the Jets organization is doing a really good job. And in 3 weeks we're gonna have real football. So I'm pumped about that.
We're all excited, man. Again, thank you so much for joining in, and we'll catch you guys next time on the Loyal Media Sports Podcast.
Thank you.